So I've got a little funny thing I wanted to share about this new magazine I signed up for $10, Martha Stewart Living. Now, they sent the May issue uh, the day before. Oh goodness, I want to say I was so emotional this whole week, but I think it was Thursday that they sent the May issue. And to and in Saturday's mail was the June issue for Martha Stewart Living. It was just one of those weird things that it's like I guess they were catching up with each other. Nothing that I wanted to share from the May issue, but in the June issue, in the Good Living and Health Wellness on page 34, is Summer Savers. You've probably never felt more ready for some fun in the sun, but warm weather can bring its own share of health hazards too. Here's how to handle and even prevent 7 common sideliners from scorched skin to bee stings to poison ivy so you can kick back with confidence by Tina Shada. Number 1, the sun zaps you. The after effects of turning lobster red aren't just a few days of misery. Overexposure to ultraviolet rays is primary cause for all skin types to have cancer. Getting 5 or more burns more than doubles your risk of developing melanoma, the deadliest one per Skin Cancer Foundation. It estimates that 207,390 new cases will be diagnosed in the U.S. this year. Act fast. Find some shade stat and sip water to cool off, replenish your supply. One of the skin's most important functions is to work as a barrier to reduce water loss, says Lara Farsi, MD, PhD, and Associate Professor of Dermatology at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. When it's burned, that barrier is impaired and that you can become dehydrated. To treat it, at home, take a cool shower, then pat on lotion that contains soothing, hydrating ingredients such as aloe vera and free of irritating fragrance and alcohol. If you still feel like you're on fire, pop an NSAID like ibuprofen and apply a washcloth dampened with cool water that will help bring down the inflammation, and never mess with blistering or peeling skin. The blisters provide protection and lets the burned skin heal below, Ferris says. At night, slip into your smoothest cotton pajamas and sheets. To prevent it, stick to the basics. Avoid the sun from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And when you're out, wear protective clothing, a wide-brimmed hat with long sleeves. Apply a broad spectrum SPF or 30 or higher sunscreen every 2 hours. If you're very fair-skinned or have a family history of skin cancer, consider taking a daily supplement like with fern extract polypodium leucomimus. That's POLYPODIUM. Next word, LEUCOTOMOS. It isn't a substitute for sunscreen, but if you do get burned, it can help reduce the severity, says Ferris. Number 2, food takes the wrong tube. You're gobbling it, jumped back in the pool, or hungry for hot dogs at a picnic. We get that summer meals that are more freewheeling. But please slow down. Choking is no joke. In 2019, it killed more than 5,000 people, according to the National Safety Council, and kids under 4 are especially at risk. In the U.S., it causes approximately 1 child's death every 5 days. Act fast. If the victim is coughing or forcefully encouraging him to continue, it can dislodge that food. If it doesn't come out, holler for someone to call 911. Treat it. The American Red Cross teaches this 2-step technique. Bend the victim over at the waist, then give him 5 firm blows between the shoulder blades and the heel of your hand, using the heel of your hand. This isn't a tap, tap, tap. This is a smack, 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 because you're using the vibration to loosen whatever is stuck, says Jeffrey L. Pellegrino, the PhD, MPH, an assistant professor of emergency management and homeland security at the University of Akron in Ohio, an American Red Cross Scientific Advisory Council member. Then a switch to the abdominal thrusts. Step behind him, place 1 foot between his feet. Make a fist, tucking in your thumb, and place it right above his navel. Cover your fist with the other hand and pull it in using the in and up J motion. Repeat 5 times. For an infant under a year old, cradle face down with the torso on your forearm so the head is lower than her chest, and do the back blows. Then turn her over on your forearm, keeping the head lower down. Place 2 fingers right below her nipple line and give 5 back downward thrusts. Keep doing sets of 5 blows and 5 abdominal thrusts until the object pops out or the help arrives. If victim loses consciousness, start CPR. Brush up at CPR untitled.heart.org. Just check the victim's mouth first and remove the object if it has come loose. Prevent it. Keep small rounded objects like marbles and pennies away from young kids and put up risky foods like hot dogs. They're the number one offset in children under 3. Slice them in half lengthwise and then cut into bites, and then grapes. Cut them into quarters. Never let a little one alone or run around during meals. Adults should chew slowly and avoid chomping snacks like nuts and popcorn by the fistful. Other notorious fare: hard candy, gum, nut butters, and tough, crunchy vegetables like crudettes. A bee dive bombs. Yes, the stings hurt like the devil, but that doesn't mean they're dangerous unless you're among the 0.4 to 0.8% of kids or 3% of adults who are very allergic, per American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, the ACAAI. That typically can be treated at home. Act fast. Remove the stinger ASAP. That reduces the amount of venom it's putting into you, says Pellegrino. Scrape it with a fingernail, or a credit card, or tweezers to get it out. Then ice the spot to ease the swelling. Treat it. If the site gets very red and puffy, it still stings, take ibuprofen, says allergist and ACAAI spokesperson Nieta Ogden, MD. It's a pain reliever and an anti-inflammatory. Ensure if the victim's allergic. Look for signs of severe reaction, aka anaphylaxis, which must be treated with epinephrine, the active ingredient in the EpiPen. Coughing, shortness of breath, lightheadedness, throat or tongue swelling, chest tightness, nausea, rash, or hives away from the sting site. If you spot any of these and don't have an EpiPen, call 911 and have her lie down. Keep her antihistamine like Benadryl. It keeps her head elevated until help arrives. Prevent it. Don't swat at bees. That just agitates them. To make yourself less buzzworthy, wear light-colored clothes and steer clear of the flowering plants and open garbage bins at picnics, and cover any food and try to drink from cups and closed bottles, not open cans that bees can hide inside. People prone to anaphylaxis should consider venom immunotherapy, a series of shots typically covered by insurance to build up tolerance to allergens, says Ogden. It saves lives. Water-wise, drowning is the second cause of leading death after car crashes in the U.S. Kids under 4, but it's a danger at any age, even for the strong swimmers. From 3,500 to 4,000 people on average drown annually. 2/3 of them become between May and August. So take these protective steps. 1. Assess your risk. It's higher if there's a standing water around your home, but be it a pool, river, or creek, says Benjamin D. Hoffman, MD, FAAP. 4-sided fences with locks could prevent half of a pool drowning. Baby pools or buckets are hazard too. A child can drown in as little as a few inches of water. Be ocean savvy. Rips are strong, shifting currents that look deceivingly calm. Avoid them by sticking it to designated safe zones at a guarded beach. If you do get stuck in one, don't panic. Swim out to it to the left or the right, parallel to the shore, not against it, or float, saving your energy till it spills you out. Get swim skills. Kids 1 to 4 who have had some lessons are much less likely to drown than some aged kids who haven't, Hoffman says, and it's never too late to learn. Spot the signs of distress. Drowning is silent and sudden. Victims can't yell or splash like in the movies. SOS signals include a head that's tilted back and sinking, a mouth that's open at water level, glassy or closed eyes, and visible struggle to tread water or float. Spring into action. Yell for someone to call 911. Pull the victim from the water. If he's unconscious, start CPR to get blood circulating. Find a class at cpr.heart.org. And this is the last page we have marked. A tick latches on. These bugs are truly taking over. In the past 2 decades, 7 new tick-borne germs have been discovered in the U.S., and cases of tick-borne illness have skyrocketed. Diagnosis of Lyme disease, the best known, have tripled since the late 1990s. Be aware they gravitate to warm, moist, hard-to-see places like your hairline, your groin area, armpits, belly button, and in around your ears. Act fast. Remove the little bugger immediately. The faster you do, the less time you'll have to infect you, per the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. A tick must be attached for at least 36 hours to transmit Lyme. Grasp its body with tweezers or gloved hands and pull it steadily. Ultimately, it has to let go, which makes it take a few minutes, so be patient. Eventually that tick is going to go. Okay, fine, and come out, says Pellegrino. You can flush it down the toilet or stick it in a resealable plastic bag and hang on to it. Treat it. Clean the bite area with soap and water. In general, the CDC doesn't recommend treating tick bites with antibiotics. But if you live in an area where Lyme is common, consider seeing your doctor if you kept the tick when bringing it along. In some circumstances, she may prescribe a short dose to lower your risk of contracting for the next 30 days. Watch for fever, headache, body ache, fatigue, joint pain, swelling, and the scarlet letter of Lyme, a rash with bullseye-like ring around it. If any of the above appear, definitely see your doctor. Prevent it. With a commuting the nature, steer clear of bushy areas, high grass, and low-hanging branches. Spray on an EPA-approved repellent. You can also find a list at the EPA.gov. Also wear light-colored clothing, the easiest way to see the legged variants. Tuck your shirt into your pants and your pants into your socks. Uncool but effective. Or consider clothing treated with the insecticide parabens such as EXOFFICIO''S Bugs Away line at EXOFFICO.com. Car sickness strikes. For many, summer means road trips and boat rides and roller coasters. But for the 1 in 3 who get motion sickness, that fantasy is more like a nightmare. Women and kids are most accessible. Act fast. For starters, put down or take away the tablet, book, video game, then roll down the window and look outside. Motion sickness often happens because there's a disconnect between what your inner ear, where you sense your motion is, and feeling, what your other senses are perceiving, says Benjamin D. Hoffman, MD, FAAP, the pediatrics professor at Oregon Health and Science University in Portland, and the chair of American Academy of Pediatrics Council of Injury, Violence, and Poison Prevention. Your brain needs to see that you're moving, taking in the scenery. The breeze is just another useful cue. Treat it. Antihistamines and motion sickness meds can help stop spinning too. People talk about ginger and acupressure bands, and I haven't seen evidence that either works, says Hoffman, so be careful about offering hard candies in the car, especially to younger kids, because of the choking risk. Prevent it. Avoid heavy, greasy foods pre-trip, and sit in the front passenger seat if you can. Have queasy older kids strap in the window seat so it's easier to see out, and if these tactics don't help, ask your doctor about taking an antihistamine or motion sickness med about an hour before you hit the road. Number 6, and the final one. Poison ivy pounces. Climate change and rising carbon dioxide levels are helping this menace proliferate. A 6-year study led by Duke researchers and publishers in 2006 found that the higher CO2 levels made it to grow about 150% faster and more allergenic. Also avoid its itchy cohorts, poison oak and sumac. Act fast. You have about 20 minutes before the irritating sap uracil sparks its reaction. Wash the exposed skin with dish soap and cool, not warm or hot, but water. On a hike, water alone will do it. Put on a rubber glove and then throw exposed clothes in the washer with the hottest water that a fabric's safe. Then don fresh gloves and retrace your steps, wiping all that you touched with a rag, dapping in soapy water or rubbing alcohol, foam doorknob, steering wheel. Treat it. If a rash appears, try taming the itch with cool compress over-the-counter cortisol cream or calamine lotion. It's okay to combine these with an oral antihistamine. For severe cases, when the bumps spread over 10% of your body or really puff up, call your doctor. She may prescribe topical steroids, prednisone, or cortisone shots, says Ogden. Any trouble breathing or swelling of the face, mouth, neck, or genital merits an immediate ER visit. Prevent. Learn to ID toxic plants. Poison ivy grows across the U.S. all year long, says Philadelphia Horticultural Umar Makala. Poison ivy lurks mostly on the west coast and in the southern states. Poison sumac thrives in the wetlands on the northeast, southeast, and Great Lakes. Next, replace the saying that leaves of 3, let them be, with leaves of 3, they resemble me. In other words, let the oak and ivy apart, set in their 3 leaves, look sort of human, leaf head, stem neck, 2 leaf arms, atop a stem body. Sumac's leaves are bigger with fern-like, with 7 to 13 leaflets. If you find any of them in your yard, glove up, carefully dig it out by the root, and then toss it in the trash. Okay, well, that's all we have from Martha Stewart, June 2021 issue. That was enlightening and good information. So hopefully you took some of that away and you're prepared for the summer ahead. And we'll do another magazine review next.